That's enough of that. Cut the music. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the podcast. We hope this finds you well, and we also hope that this week I don't sound like a robot, as as it transpires. What happened last time is my my noise cancelling, cut out all of the background noise application, had decided to put on an upgrade and convert my accent to some kind of homogenized American weird thing, even though it said in the app that it was trying to convert my accent to Indian. That could have been that could have gone horribly wrong very quickly, and made me look like I was trying to do some poor man's Apu impression from The Simpsons. Anyway, enough said. I'm back to my normal robust voice this week. Bob, how are you? How's your week been? How's life?
Oh, it's good. And I must admit, on that last podcast, I thought maybe you'd had one of those things where people go to sleep and wake up speaking completely different that you hear about. But yeah, no, life's good. Sort of Christmas is finally firmly behind us, and we're looking forward to next year, and I've got a few events I'm planning for.
Amazing.
So life's busy.
Amazing. That's always good to hear. Now, on with today's festivities. If you tried to listen to the stream in the group, we didn't put it out as an official podcast for obvious reasons. It would have been a challenge and close to impossible to listen to. So we're coming back to the discussion that we had last time, but using different data points, different things to focus on. So if you missed that one, here's what it is in a nutshell. There is a growing number of cult-like behaviors. Now, immediately, as soon as we say that word, your minds will very likely go to, well, it's this group, or this group, or they must be on about this group, or this group, or this group. That is your own particular preferences for whatever particular group of individuals you like or don't. The thing that we're focusing on here is the behavioral intelligence behind it, is the behavior communication that sits underneath some of these things, so that we can start to look at it and pull it apart. Because the one thing that connects all of this, and there are a few, but the one thing that connects all of this behavior, and indeed humans in general, is the bias that sits in the experience of whatever it is that you believe is happening. So the more data points you have to pull apart maybe some idea that you have or that you're critiquing in other people, the better positioned you will be to try and see it with as much clarity as one is able to do in a particular situation. So we're looking at, first of all, this notion of moral transgressions as identity anchors. In a nutshell, it is the observation of the more severe the accusation, then the stronger the defense of the individual that is being accused of whatever it is tends to double down on and appear on. Bob, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a really good time to talk about this, because I see it everywhere. It's becoming a norm. I think the interconnected world makes people, we have these influencers and that type of thing coming through. And so I think it is gaining hold more than ever. And for me, it's just about where an individual's identity is overrun by their unwavering allegiance to a charismatic leader. And if you go back in history, I can't remember the mass suicide that they had in Africa somewhere, Americans.
Yes.
I can't remember who that was.
Jonestown, was it? The Jonestown.
Jonestown, that's it. And ones like that, there's history is littered with them, but they've become much more nuanced and much more mainstream, I think, than that, because back then it was obviously indoctrinating people that they'd met, etc. Whereas now you don't have to meet people. You can get a massive following and become an influencer just through a click of the mouse, and so it's much more important. But it takes many forms, but things like aggressive emotional messaging that reinforce their beliefs, and you get a loyalty to someone, and then, like I say, your identity becomes overrun.
Yeah, it's mad. Yeah, it's mad, especially when you think that with certain individuals or certain groups, it is behaviour that would be condemned almost instantly. I think it is known as shifting the goalposts, but the gear change for some of these folks is more like throwing the goalposts. They have to do it so far. It's moving horrible circumstances to try and defend it as being some kind of strength or some kind of strategy, and again, people might think we're picking on individuals. These are just illustrations of the aspect happening, illustrations of the behavior that's happening. You see it with what's his name on the Daily Show, Jordan Klepper, when he goes to interview Trump supporters, and he's clearly looking for very particular kinds of Trump supporters, obviously, but he would go up to them and say, well, when Biden did this and this and this, that's disgusting and horrible, right? And they'd be like, yes, absolutely terrible, Biden bad, and then he'd be flicking through his notes and go, oh no, that was Trump. Sorry, that was Trump that did that, and then they'd have to do like some kind of gear change around the defense of that principle. And it's the aspect that we touched on in the last episode again, that nobody heard unless you were in the group. They heard it, which was when somebody's focus is only on interpretation. If somebody's focus is only on interpretation, then accuracy isn't really being considered in those particular. Well, if you look at it from this point of view, or if you look at it from no, let's look at what happened. What happened bad? That's it. Right?
Yeah. It's a strong us and them narrative, and the problem with that is that if you want, we'll call it a cult because that's what we've done. When a cult like that becomes the highest value, then almost all moral transgressions can be rationalized. You can talk your way out of everything. There is no truth, and that is very dangerous. To just for example, you could justify physical or psychological harm to others, or in a lot of these proper cults, it's the act of lying to authorities or families to protect the thing that they have now become part of. And it can become dangerous. Not all of them are as dangerous as that. And you could say that there is a grey area, because I suppose when you look at the way the internet works and where people are building following on all these services that they use, the cult could just be they're called followers, aren't they?
Yes.
So when does a follower when does that follower become a cult? Because there are loads of people who have that sort of following and make quite a lot of money from it, and it's used just as that. But even with those ones that I've watched, they are exploiting people and it's not physical harm. It might be it's psychological harm in a way, because they're narrowing their point of view of the world. A good example of that, and this is just my bias, is the behaviour panel, because it's the area I work in, where they turn speculative narratives into moral judgments on people. And I think that's bad. They're self-professed experts, and they use that authority position to change or alter the mindset of the people that they're speaking to accept that whatever they say must be right, because one of them is ex-FBI, I think, one of them is ex-military, etc., etc. So they must know what they're talking about. That doesn't mean anything just because you're in these things. I was in the Boy Scouts. I still don't know how to start a fire.
Like it's yeah, it's rife. I had a couple of comments on some of my old videos, like, what happens when the behavior panel proves you wrong? Well, then I'll be wrong.
Yeah, there's always a 1 in 1,000 chance they might. Yeah.
But like, even in those situations, like, it's just the logic. What happens when they prove me wrong? What are you expecting on the backside of that? It seems to be that when there is a perceived attack on the leader, whatever the leader is, that others who are in said following take it as an attack on them and themselves, because they are so entrenched within it. And to that end, I got to have the conversation that I love to have about body language not being real. And it was with one of my new guys who came to me for one-on-ones, and it was afterwards, and I was like, the whole sentence came about blah blah blah, and I said because body language isn't real, and he goes, wait, hold on a minute, what do you mean body language isn't real? What are we doing here? I was like, well, it's body language in the sense that how it's taught of, I have seen this, therefore it means this. In the same sense that if you saw the word bonjour, it means good day. You know, that this conversion does not exist. And he was like, well, what do you mean? I was like, well, watch this. And I'll see if I can put me back on the. I was like, watch this. I'm doing this now. Watch me transform from someone who's disagreed with you into someone that's bored at a bus stop. Ta-da! Now watch me transform into someone that's just showing off their tattoos. Ta-da! Now watch me transform into somebody that is a little bit shy about how much weight they've put on and they're trying to hide their stomach. Ta-da! Like, I didn't move. The contexts around it changed for the explanation. So what it leads to, if you were being as close to truthful as you could be, is going, well, it could be this, but it also could be this, it could be this, it could be this, and could be this, which isn't as, intellectually sexy as I have seen them move their eyebrows, therefore it means they are withholding information. There is an intellectual sex appeal to that. It's just not honest, right? Yeah. It's not honest. So if you were making a I don't know, like a movie trailer or a TV show, keep going. You're onto a winner. You need that kind of stuff. But in the really real world, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. And I think it was it Kent on when he was it on the People Who Read People podcast, where he was saying in high pressure situations, very few situations are going to rely on, I've seen this movement. But when the pressure goes up and you're like, that is such a succinct piece of direct accuracy. Like, if you've ever been in a stressful situation of any kind, the stress being individual to you, but if it's ever like high octane, you're not thinking about what somebody's cheeks are doing or how they're breathing. You're thinking about much more macro elements. Because that's when the freeze, fight, or flight's kicking in, Yeah.
And in those sort of things, I put a post on LinkedIn last week about the fact that we all know about Paul Ekman facial action coding system that he had. But a few years later, I think it was after, two ladies whose names escape me at this moment came up with another thing that they call faces. And it did away with all of this, you've got to look at this muscle and this muscle and this muscle mean this. And all they said is, all you really need to think about is this positive or negative that you're seeing in front of you? And when we're doing analysis as professionals that we are, that's the sort of thing we look for. It's not about, does this mean this person's angry or whatever? All we want to know is the change, and is the change gone from this to this, or is it gone from positive to negative, or did it always start as a slightly negative conversation, and now the person's softening to me? And that is valence, isn't it? Is what they call it.
100%.
And it's very, very closely linked to amygdala activity. And this fact that everything is emotional, it isn't. Everything has got feelings, but are we? It's the difference between rapport. And everyone says, "Oh, you've got to get empathy with something." Well, you try and get empathy with a businessman who doesn't want you in their room with them. You're never going to get empathy with them, but you may be able to get rapport with them. And it's all these things, isn't it? Which is going off the subject a little bit, but it's with these behaviour panel and in particular, they're always looking for guilt. They're always looking for deception. They're always looking for manipulation, and it could be said if you want to look at it in a very biased way, that's exactly what they're doing. That's exactly what they're doing themselves to sell what they're doing. But they use, in particular, those use very scientific terms very loosely to try and justify their behaviour, which are used in a very sort of surface level. Things like baseline behaviour is a key word now, isn't it? Leakage, indicators, and they try to and they're trying to invoke a feeling, but because of this cult-like behaviour, people latch onto that. Oh well, he's saying all the words, so it must be. If he puts all the words in the right order, it must make a sentence, and that sentence must be true. But it's not. It's and that's what they do in particular. The thing that I would say, and I got it written down because I said it earlier. They treat uncertainty as moral truth, and it's not.
No.
It's not truth, because we all know, anyone who operates in that field of work knows that you cannot be certain. You can give your thoughts to it, and in real life situations, that's like if you're the police officer stopping someone, if you're the man making a business deal, that's what we rely on to help us try and make decisions. And all we do as work is try to help them make better decisions. And it's so far away from what they're doing, but it's not just confined to them. I'm not having a go at them, just using them as an example. Well, I am having a go at them, but that's another thing. But you look at other areas. You look at someone like, let's say, for instance, Andrew Tate, and about that is a cultish following that he has. Now he's not going to go against Andrew Tate, but use him as an example of how you've got charismatic. I don't find him charismatic, but obviously a lot of people do. He's got a very loyal base. You could tell them the sky was blue and they'd say it wasn't if he told them it wasn't. And he uses that us and them narrative, doesn't he? Very strongly.
Yeah, all the time.
And it's a danger, because he now looks like he's trying to get into politics.
Oh, God. God save us. Odin save us. Someone save us.
Yeah, and he's doing that thing of normalising extreme behaviour, misogyny in his case, as realism, which is not.
No.
But I hope it's not.
Well, yeah. I mean, okay, right. Before I do my view on Andrew Tate, and there are people go, well, why should anyone care about your view? That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. Right? Yeah. That's the point of it. If it is that somebody has mentioned an opinion that's even marginally contradictory to your own, and your rebuttal or the rebuttals of people you are observing is only about escalation of whatever emotional feeling or salience or valence is being worked with, escalation is the only key. They are involved in this kind of cult-like behavior because they won't hear it. They won't hear it. These kind of open discussions, just as a quick side note, in our community, we have these little get-togethers on a Friday, where we just hang out and talk about all of this kind of stuff. And religion was brought up, the ultimate in polarizing topics. And there was this, one guy's giving their opinion, one guy's giving their opinion, one guy's giving their opinion. And I was like, look, I'm not religious at all, in any way, shape or form. But I have really close Christian friends. I have really close spiritual friends and Muslim friends, and because their particular belief is fascinating enough that we can have a great conversation about it, and they are open to questions about why they do what they do and why they think what they think. And, you know, religion isn't just this all-seeing, all-knowing, like there's holes in their belief structure, but they've rationalized and ratified that negativity. You know, finding that kind of stuff out, those kind of conversations is where the opposite of this cultesque behavior is going to be seen. Now, when it comes to Mr. Tate, he seems to be the epitome of an angry customer services phone call, where, you know, if you're the customer services agent and Andrew Tate's on the other line, and you give him news that, you know, he doesn't like, maybe he can't have his money back, or the product's out of stock, or whatever it is in this hypothetical I'm making up as we go. And he then asks why, you give him the information, so he then says his original point just louder, and then he says it louder. But it seems to be with Andrew Tate, he's just saying the same things louder and quicker. They're not any more emphatic by default. Just because somebody wears sunglasses inside does not charisma make, you know. Yeah. And then people will go, well, you know, he's so clever. Okay, cool. Why? Well, look at how good he is at chess. Okay, well, you know what being really good at chess means? I'll go, no, it means he's really good at chess.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. That's it. That's it. There's around chess, people have thought, you know, oh, they must be great tacticians, and, you know, anything else that seems to be connected, masters of manipulation by default. Well, no, they might have that as well. But being good at chess just makes them good at chess. Yeah. You know,
until someone comes along that's better than them at chess.
Exactly.
But then that's what these people do. They put themselves, they're unimpeachable. They're not, you know, they're sort of unimpeachable, shall I say. They're the highest of the highs. That's how they promote themselves. And they play on that thing, don't they? That basic human thing, because we all want to know. We don't like ambiguity or not knowing, and they play on that. So being by an expert, or like the behaviour panel, or a expert, I suppose, in his own way, influence, or whatever you want to call him, Andrew Tate, they offer simple, confident explanations for things, don't they? And so people who follow them will stop exploring alternatives, because certainty is better than not knowing. And we all hate not knowing, you know, that's just a human thing. You know, I the other night, Newcastle were playing in a Champions League, and I couldn't get it because it's very expensive and whatever, so I didn't get it. And so I tried to resist looking at the football scores, and I find it really hard, because we want the know, don't we? We need to. Yeah. And that instant gratification, which is what a lot of these people play on through the instant availability of information, is there with the internet. And so I ended up, it overcame me, and I had to look. And that in a nutshell is what they're playing on. Yeah, that thing we need to know. We need to feel, because it makes us feel safe. It's a basic human condition that we've taken down through the ages with us. We want to be safe, and we want to be secure, and that equates to knowing. We want to know, because safety and security comes through knowing.
Oh, I mean, if I were religious, this would be the point that I'd be like, amen, you know, and whatever else happens at church that those wonderful folks are doing. But there is a lot of groupthink that goes within this realm.
Oh,
And
without a doubt.
and if it is that you're listening to that going, what the hell is groupthink? Think of an echo chamber. Think of a bias. Yes, men and women constantly saying the same things. So often, memories rewrite, and it becomes this irrefutable truth. Like, if you, it's the same reason people think Elon Musk is some kind of wizard, and I'm like, based on what? Well, he owns all of this and does all this and rockets and cars. Amazing, cool. Owning it does not translate to making it. It's the simplest. It's the simplest way I can put it. When this notion pops up, internal dissent disappears, confidence rises, accuracy fails. Like if you imagine the debate culture, which is very popular online, Tate's involved in them, a bunch of other right wingers, but there's no, that's the wrong sentence. Think of it. All of these people are arguing back and forth, and it's going answer, 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 and one person then says, "Do you know? I don't know. I'd have to find out." And then the person on this side pipes up with something. I've got the answer, and says it confidently, but it's demonstrably false. It is demonstrably false. This person has provided an answer, whereas another person said, "I don't know. I'd have to find out." This person is lauded as having information and being more in charge and being the leader in the situation, even though what they're saying is demonstrable nonsense. And that is I mean, it's a quirk of social media. It's a quirk of videos en masse because, on the one side, I get it. People want to watch, it's the Jerry Springer effect. People want to watch arguments and fights and go, God, give him some, and all of this type of thing. I get it. For the discussions to come on, I go, I'd have to find out. The person leaves the room to go through the books and finds it out, come back, half an hour's passed and everyone's twiddling their thumbs. It's not effective television, but that's what we're saying. We are losing the capacity to critically evaluate information. And again, it might not be the sexiest of topics, but it is one of the most valuable for us as a species that is based in interactions. Right? Yeah. Those who question the group in that situation, they are not debated. They are expelled. Again, reform, we need a change, Tories suck. And yet most of the people in there are Tories. It baffles me that this type of, vote who you want to vote for. Right? Vote who you want to vote for. But make sure that you're connecting to the information in a truthful manner. And you're not just being manipulated beyond reproach. After a long enough timeline of doing this, the only voices that remain are the ones that affirm your opinion, and they aren't helpful. Yeah, they aren't helpful at all. Like it's a baffling state of affairs that we are constantly pushed towards quick, easy answers. The groupthink dynamics, as described by Irving Yannis, cohesion becomes more valuable than truth. Yes. Error correction is experienced as betrayal. Yeah. Right. It's one thing me saying to my daughter, how can you not like sour cream and chive sauce? I disown you, in it being a joke, but that's essentially what is being adopted by many other groups, just on a much grander scale. If you're with ICE or against ICE, you're MAGA or you're this, you're Labour or you're Reform, you're red or you're blue, you're this or you're that. And invariably, the lines about your decisions to go in whichever way you end up going are not as unique as you think they are. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that's all we're saying. We pick on anyone. We can pick on ourselves. Get someone else in here that has a different opinion. Like 100%. These are the kinds of conversations we want, because
Yeah.
that's the only way to benefit the practical working experience of the information that we're using. Is to go, well, this doesn't work, and us to go, okay, why?
Mm.
Tell us why.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a sad state of affairs for the world to be in. So it's maybe our vain hope, maybe a slightly going against the numbers. We are looking to try and give you just a couple of tools to try and help you with this. So, like, even with the other one, if there's an immediate jump towards escalation, when disagreement is moralized rather than examined, intelligence, as in the gathering of, not the smarts, the gathering of intelligence, has been replaced by perceived loyalty. You know, it's the people, and you know, you can see it all over the awful state of affairs in America at the minute. But it's that when that happens, accuracy has left the building.
Sure.
Has left the building, and only confirmation bias remains.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly right. A good note to end on, I think.
Perfect. I was about to go for final thoughts, but we'll take that. Okay, so guys, hopefully you get something out of this, and if it is that you have any contradictory opinions to some of the things that we're talking about, we sincerely want to hear from you, because this is the way we grow as individuals, as operators within this field. If you know something we don't, share it. You know, that's going to make us look at what we're working with a little harder, and as we go back out to work. But please don't expect this to be one way. If you come with the opinions as well, we're going to have conversations too. This is how we learn and grow and develop this towards practical experiences that we can all use. So
yeah, I have got something final to say, Ben, if that's okay.
Please do.
Just because it means a lot to me is just remember, exploiting others isn't smart. Ethics are not obstacles that you have to overcome. And finally, compassion is not a weakness. In fact, it's the complete opposite. There's no defense to kindness, so try and be kind to people and see the results you get.
Amazing. With that in mind, if you wanted to be kind to us, you can subscribe to the podcast. But if you don't and you just want to listen in the background, then please do that as well. All right, guys, we're going to love you and leave you, and we'll see you next week for another one. Take it easy.